What really gets my dick hard is
So fucking what?
Hey everyone, this is Tom Quee here from Alpha Metallica, and you're listening to Metal Up Your Podcast.
Are we doing all right? Did we all come here to kick some fucking ass or what? Well, I tell ya, if you came here to see fucking spandex and fucking makeup and hairspray and all this crap, this ain't the fucking band. We came here to bash our fucking heads together for 45 minutes. What about you? All right. Do you all know Cliff Burton over here? Everyone, hi Cliff, how you doing?
Welcome to Metal Up Your Podcast. I'm Ethan Luck.
And I'm Clint Wells.
And this week is episode number 73, and we're going to continue on with the year-by-year series we're doing, Year in the Life of Metallica, and this is going to be 1985.
Yeah, well, our schedules are getting really busy this spring. It makes more sense to camp out in the, I guess we're like sort of doing an encyclopedia type deal here.
Yeah.
Where we're just burning down in rigorous detail everything the boys did in these various years. We're in 1985, right after, they're still touring Lightning. They've got some really big festival shows, and then of course in 1985 is when they start recording Master of Puppets, generally considered to be one of the greatest metal records of all time.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It's actually in the Library of Congress.
Yeah, it is. Isn't it like the only metal record in there?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, it's the first one that was put in.
That's awesome. That's so great.
Before we get into all that, if you're joining us for the first time or you're a new listener, Ethan and I are two professional musicians based out of Nashville, Tennessee. We get together once a week, every week, to talk about Metallica because we like that band.
I kind of like them.
Is that fair to say? We like Metallica.
I think it's fairly fair to say we like them.
Ethan and I, when we became friends, we would meet up at our favorite bars around Nashville, and we would just talk endlessly about everything that we've been talking about on this podcast.
Right.
And we decided we should just have those same conversations, but with microphones.
Yeah.
And since we've started, I guess about a year and a half ago, we've cultivated this really great community of Metallica fans. We've all been learning a lot. We've all been on the ride together. We've been gone to some shows. We've made a lot of new friends. It's been a really fun trip.
It really has been, man, and it's cool to like. I know you're not on Facebook, but some of our listeners who became friends, I'm now friends with on Facebook. So, for instance, Sarah Sobek, our friend, is right now currently over in Europe. She went to like I think Oslo and Stockholm shows, maybe. Mm-hmm. And so it's just cool seeing her post photos on there of her and her husband over there going to the shows and meet and greet and all that stuff. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and we're friends with a lot of the other dudes that do Metallica podcasts. Our friend Tom Quee over at Alpha Metallica and Speak and Destroy, Metallichat, all these other podcasts that have crept up. Largely, they've said inspired by our show, Single Podcast Theory, the Pearl Jam podcast, that Sabbath Bloody Sabbath dude doing the Sabbath shit. It's been really cool.
Yeah. It's cool that just something we're doing for fun, just because we love this band, has encouraged people to get out there and put themselves out there and start a podcast. Maybe they were like me before I started my first one, kind of nervous to put something out there. Like, man, is it going to be good? Are people going to like it? So it's really cool to see people have kind of stood up and be like, all right, here we go. I'm going to do it. Clint and Ethan have inspired me. What we do? We're inspirational.
Do you know what we do? We inspire.
That's right. We need an inspirational poster of the two of us, and it has some quote.
Keep calm and start a Metallica podcast.
Yeah, everyone's doing it, man. It's so 2018.
Here's a few quick housekeeping things before we get into some emails, and then we get into 1985. If you like the show and you haven't already, consider clickety-clacking your way over to iTunes and leaving us a positive review. Goes a long way in us becoming more visible, and people who may be checking us out for the first time, they see your positive review. They think that you have good things to say. They trust you. So help them find us. We also have this Patreon thing. You're going to hear about that a little later. We are doing a giveaway this month. 5 gifts for our patrons. I can't do them today because I am in Florida on the road. I don't have all that shit in front of me. But it's coming. It's happening.
It's happening. It's so happening.
And for the next several months, we're going to be doing gifts just exclusively for patrons. So it's patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast. Go check that out there. We're on all the socials. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
We're there.
YouTube. Just look up Metal Up Your Podcast. Whatever your favorite terrible thing is, we're on that. We got a great website, metalupyourpodcast at metalupyourpodcast.com, where you can find T-shirts and stickers and buttons, and you can listen to every episode, and you can listen to other podcasts Ethan and I've been on. It's a one-stop shop for everything Clint and Ethan.
That's right.
And
Sexy photos. You can download our 2018 calendar.
there's the Metal Up Your Podcast calendar with me posing with various motorcycles and
Mine are mostly like 80s, Ferrari Testarossas, Lamborghini Countach, washing them, of course. Got to keep them spick and span.
Oh, do you want me to clean it more here?
Oh.
Is this getting it cleaner?
Oh, did I miss a spot?
Whoopsie.
Oh, I dropped the rag. Hey, I do want to mention real quick again, if I could. We talked about it more in detail in the last episode, but if you guys are interested, I am about to make a cool dub reggae kind of record with Paul Moak. Paul? And I've got a Kickstarter going. There's still like 20-something days left. So if you go to Kickstarter, just search Ethan Luck. You'll find my project. And if you want to check it out, watch the video, listen to a clip. There's 2 songs you can download for free if you contribute. So, go check that out, too.
It's good. It's a good year, man.
It's a good year to write a reggae record.
we're gonna see Metallica this year several times. We've made a lot of new friends. You're gonna make a reggae record. We're making the Lunar Satan record. We're making our Cover Our World Blackened Volume 2 EP.
So many things happening.
It's really cool.
Oh yeah.
One of the coolest things about the show is we get emails from literally all over the world every week, more than we can read on the show. But we'd like to take a little bit of time and check in with the Metal Up Your Podcast community and see what's going on. So let's go into the email corner.
Love it. All right. Our first email is from Anderson, Samuel J. He says, "What's up, guys? Just started listening to your podcast, and I'm totally fucking digging it. You guys seem down to earth and are just as much fans as people like me. I love what you guys do, and I hope that you guys never run out of material." I read that wrong. I hope that if you guys ever run out of material, you do another podcast. Have a good one, guys. Sam. Yeah, we've of course we've talked about that. Like at some point, what can we talk about this week? So we're not worrying about that right now, but maybe it'll morph into more of a just a general music podcast. We don't know. We're not really worried about it right now, though.
Yeah, we'll see. I definitely appreciate the sentiment. It's very nice of you, Anderson, Samuel J.
Junior, senior.
Our next email is from Fabricio Roig. Hey guys, new listener here from Lima, Peru, New Jersey. Haha. Huge Metallica fan since I was 4 years old. 4 years old.
Wow.
Just in that crib, riding the lightning.
Just throwing his pacifier against the wall.
Just thrashing all around in that crib. He says, I'm currently recovering from a corneal transplant surgery, so I can't watch any TV or even get out of bed much. After browsing for good podcasts, I came across this one. At first, I didn't think there was that much you could say about Metallica to do a Metallica-only podcast and keep it good. He says, but damn it, I gave it a chance. What is he saying? He says, but damn it, I gave it a chance and was brought back to the Metallica world. You made me remember that my dad presented the songs to me when I was a little kid. He talks about his dad playing Whiplash for him. He says, the main things I want you guys to remember from Metallica now that you're doing the live shit reviews is what I call the Metallica silence. When they pause the song and create suspense that leads into the next riff, like we pointed out with Harvester of Sorrow. He says his favorite Metallica silence is the one in Creeping Death where James just laughs. Oh my god, what a moment. Best Metallica moment ever. There's also one in the live concert where the silence for Fade to Black. Oh, he talks about, going into that ba-dum, 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 ba-da-da. When James went to go do that part, his guitar was still clean. His tech didn't change it over to a distorted sound.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. He says, sorry for the long mail, but I just binge listened to 14 episodes in 2 days.
Wow, nice, dude.
He says, which one is your favorite Metallica silence? I like the one in Sad But True.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought of when I read this email.
And there's a good one in Dream No More also.
Yep.
He ends by saying, great podcast, keep it up, guys. I'm writing my review on iTunes, and I will be on Patreon once I recover from my eye for sure. Well, Fabricio, we wish you a speedy recovery and much health to you with your corneal transplant. That sounds very intense. I don't know much about that, but I'm glad we could be a part of your recovery process. I really appreciate the email.
Keep on binging those episodes while you recover, man.
Binge on, bro.
Yeah, dude. All right, next email is from Cole Cahill. I can never do last names. Hey guys, love the show. I've been listening since episode 3. You couldn't listen to 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Listening
Still hasn't.
Yeah,
Still
he's
hasn't
like,
heard him.
I don't want to know about these guys. Been listening since episode 3, and I've been listening to ever since. I got to thinking the other day that I've been listening to Metallica forever, and I still love their songs, even though I've heard them 1,000 times. So I came up with a question. If you could rediscover one Metallica album again, hearing it for the first time, which one would it be? Thanks for reading and keep kicking ass. I love learning about Metallica. So rediscover it as in hearing it for the first time.
Again.
Yeah.
Which, like, I never got to... Well, that's a good question. What do you think? What do you think your answer would be?
I'd probably still have to go with the first one I ever bought would be Puppets. Mm-hmm. Just because it's such an exciting record, and it obviously stands the test of time on record and live. It's just one of those records that, when I remember first hearing it, just being like, wow, this is like thrash metal, but it's melodic. There's catchy parts and this and that. So I think, to go back and re-listen to that for the first time would be pretty awesome.
I'm going to have to go with Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Yeah, I think for me it's similar to you because Puppets is your favorite record. I think it'd probably be Lightning,
Yeah.
I remember hearing it for the first time,
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember just being like, oh my God.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, dude. No, that's a great question.
Thanks, Cole. Very cool.
Thank you, Cole.
Rakesh Go Poland says, Clinton Ethan, this is Rakesh.
Go Poland.
Go Pollen from Charlotte, New Jersey.
Pollen.
Yay, pollen. You can do it. Get out of those flowers. Give people some allergies.
Make me sneeze.
Pollen. P-O-L-L-E in pollen.
I hope that you had your hands up pretending
I
to have
did.
pom-poms in
I had
there.
it I had my arms in a V.
Yes, you did.
Arms raised in a V.
Amazing.
Okay.
Then you stand up and make a P out of your body.
I've tucked my shirt up so my belly's showing, and I put my hair in pigtails. Got some pom poms.
Perfect. Got a trampoline in that room.
Some pom poms made of pollen. Yeah, there's a trampoline in here.
Yeah, black pom poms, of course.
Other assorted cheerleading paraphernalia. Sorry, Rakesh. He says, I'm one of those who's listened since nearly the inception of your show, but only now got around to the whole Patreon thing. Oh, I forgot to mention he's our new patron.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Thank you so much, dude. Sorry, we're kind of frazzled today. He says, 70 plus episodes in, I wanted to write and say what an amazing show you put together. I'll echo what everyone else says about how it is so nice to have a community of fellow Metallica nuts who get nutty together, as our boy James would say. He says, I'm a lawyer practicing in Charlotte, and I think only the second lawyer who's written into you guys, the first being, of course, our friend Nick Roller. I'm unaware of any other lawyers that we have as fans.
Yeah, we may need representation one day. We never know.
He says, shockingly, there are not that many metalheads in my circles here. Hearing about my favorite band through the lens of two passionate musicians has really revealed aspects of the music I never knew, and here I was thinking I knew everything about the band. He says, as a guitar player myself, I'd love to hear your take on the technical skills/styles of James versus Kirk. Most people focus on Kirk the Ripper and his solo/shred capabilities, but my impression is that James is as good or better than Kirk. Sometimes I go back and listen to the hard-panned recording of the 90s and compare the left to the right, and I tend to like James's style better. Listening to James do random solos and doodles in the tuning room is also pretty cool. What are your thoughts as musicians? Maybe one is not better than the other, but they are decidedly different. I'll finish his email and then we'll come back to that.
All right, cool.
He says, although you guys had a great show from the start, I think the last year and a half, you've really matured nicely into a top-notch podcast that would stack up content and production-wise with anything out there. If you ever need a lawyer as you guys grow, or just a beer in Charlotte, give me a buzz. Hello, me, he says. He says, P.S. Clint, I'm also a huge fan of Tool and A Perfect Circle, and I really like your perspective on the whole buying of music thing. Most music takes several listens to really appreciate. I wasn't stoked about Eat the Elephant, which is the new Perfect Circle record I've talked about, upon first listen, but now I think it's a phenomenal album. Rakesh, Metal Lawyer number 2, he says.
That's awesome. Maybe we can get both of them on the show and have a lawyer off.
A lawyer off?
Yeah.
They'll be tied up in litigation for the next 17 years.
Exactly. It'll be a long episode.
No, load sucks. No, reload sucks.
Reload. I stand by my defense.
Load is good. Load is different. Reload's more experimental, and it sucks.
Your Honor, can you sustain that? Or overrule it
It's sustained and overruled.
at the same time?
How's that, lawyers?
Are you hammering your gavel right now?
I'm hammering the gavel of my closed Saint Anger fist on this hotel desk. Now we've talked about James and Kirk. James definitely has a very loose, cool kind of punk vibe, but he's also extremely melodic because he approaches his guitar playing lyrically as like an extension. As a singer, he's just bringing that angle to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so while he can't shred or anything, I love his solo in Master of Puppets. I love his solo. I love all of his solos. Nothing else matters. Suicide and Redemption. He's got a solo in To Live Is to Die.
Yep. Exactly.
And I know what he's talking about too. It is fun, because James often will just sort of go off in some of these kind of like weird noodly solos in the tuning room, just because he's bored, I guess. But his note choices are pretty weird and cool. And
for sure.
What's a great James solo is that swelly solo in the Outlaw Torn.
Yeah, that one's great.
In fact, can we just add that real quick? Can we just listen to that?
Man, I will go on record any day and say that I think James is one of the best rhythm players to exist.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
who can touch him on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you listen to certain songs like fucking Battery, to sing and play that at the same time,
unbelievable.
I mean, that song just by itself on guitar is not an easy chore.
No, and Fight Fire with Fire.
Yep,
similar.
Fight Fire with Fire, Blackened, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to go down as one of the great frontmen and rhythm guitar players of any band for sure.
I don't know who could challenge him, especially writing it and singing over it.
Yeah,
because I will say Kirk doesn't get the credit he deserves in the rhythm department. Kirk is an amazing rhythm player.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to sing over it. So he can play All Nightmare Long and not have to worry about singing it.
Yep.
You know?
Oh yeah, totally. Man, well, that's a great question.
Yep. Thanks for the email, dude. And again, thank you so much for becoming a patron. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, man, definitely. All right, next email is from our friend Stephanie Zink. She says, I just got done listening to this week's episode, and I definitely want to write in about the Where the Wild Things Are cover. First off, I see why you're doing this for a living, Clint. You have an incredible talent hearing something that maybe would be hard for someone else to pick up on. You were able to strip this song down to its bones without losing what makes this such a unique and unappreciated gem. I applaud you, good sir. The Dave Mustaine bit from the last couple of weeks has brought me to tears. I hope this keeps happening. Still can't wait for January. Metallica burns in my blood.
Nice.
Well, that's some nice words you said about your cover of Where the Wild Things Are.
I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, we're doing this. It's for our patrons. We're doing these cover EPs, and we're kind of starting the slow process of doing Volume 2. And
yeah,
we whipped up a version of Where the Wild Things Are, and that you can find that at the end of the last episode.
Yeah, episode 72. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that we mentioned our other new patrons this week. Cole Cahill, who sent us a previous email, and Brett Foz have also become patrons.
Awesome. So, thank you, guys.
Man, you dudes getting involved at that level, it just completely makes things about the show that are good possible.
Yeah, exactly. How else would I be sitting in a solid gold office chair right now?
With a golden bidet
I know.
that shoots golden water into my butt.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's awesome. So thank you to our patrons for all the solid gold shit in my house.
And speaking of all that, Stephanie is also a patron, and Stephanie was the one who won the Puppets box set that we gave away,
right.
which we were only able to buy through the donations of our patrons. So
exactly,
we take that money and we try to put it back into the show, and we try to give you guys gifts and try to do special shit like parties and these EPs and stuff. So anyway, I've gone on long enough. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Dylan Peden says, Clint and Ethan, recently discovered your podcast about a week ago on Spotify.
Ew.
Do tell. He says, I instantly became a fan. Like you guys and many others out there, Metallica is by far my favorite band, as they've impacted my life so much with their kick-ass music. Being from a small town in Mississippi, which is where our friend Paul Moak is from, I I was never really exposed to heavy metal until I found the Puppets album in a box while helping my auntie move. He didn't say auntie. I added that.
That was adorable.
I added it because I wanted to.
You know what, man? It's America. You can say it however you want.
He says, this is where my journey with Metallica began. I was a freshman in high school at the time, which was 2007, and their music really became a way for me to pound out a lot of pent-up anger, confusion, and aggression that comes with being a man. True. I agree with all that. They became my heroes, so I was beyond stoked when my mom got me tickets to see them with my best friend in Atlanta in 2009 for my 17th birthday. Since then, I've seen them one other time last summer in Atlanta with my wife during the Worldwide Tour. Though the show last summer was fucking killer, the 2009 show remains special to me as my friend and I still celebrate October 4th as what we call the Metalliversary of seeing them for the first time live.
That's awesome.
All that just to say thank you guys so much for the podcast. It really fires me up knowing there are other Metallica superfans out there. Much love and respect from Mississippi, New Jersey. Thank you so much, Dylan.
Yeah, very cool. And of course, happy Metalliversary when that comes.
Happy Metalliversary, October 4th.
Our next email is from Livet, Livet, Live.
Live in La Vida, live it?
Live La Vida Loca.
There we go.
Since I just found out about the podcast like a month ago, I've been plowing through the episodes like a maniac, like a Hulkamaniac.
Uh-oh. Should we?
Yes, we should. Yes, we should.
Oh, okay. Here it is.
Will we?
Do you?
If you want to be a Hulkamaniac, I can sure tell you how to stay on track. You gotta train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins too. These are all the things that the maniacs do. Positive thoughts and positive deeds. These are the things that make you succeed. Always be good to your family and friends. They're the only ones that'll be there in the end.
Yeah, it's been a while since we heard that song.
I know. I don't realize how much I've missed it until just now.
I know, exactly. Anyways, he says, I'm at the load episode number 26 while writing this, and it feels kind of strange sending emails into the future.
Whoa,
bro.
Send all your emails into the future.
A flying DeLorean. I haven't seen one of those since. Going to see my first Metallica show in 1993. Going to see my first Metallica show since 1993 on Monday, and listening to you guys has been the ultimate warm up for this.
Get out of my car, old man.
Oh, jeez.
How'd you know how to do that? Let's just say I'm an old friend of the family.
Or doesn't it say, let's just say we're distant relatives.
Distant relatives.
Nice story, Biff.
Nice story, old Biff, old future me.
Gosh, we could do a whole, whenever, if we ever do a movie review on Back to the Future, it has to just be in a Mustaine voice the whole time.
Oh my God, dude.
Anyways, he ends his email by saying, might write in again about my feelings regarding the show, but who knows? Well, listen. He's from Stockholm, so technically that was, what, last night or tonight?
Oh, yeah, they just played. That's right.
Yeah. Well, Live, thank you for writing in, man.
Continue living loca, please.
Live that vida loca.
Blair Tom says, we got a few more here. Blair Tom says, hey guys, Blair in Carlisle, Saskatchewan, Canada here again. Love the last 2 Year in the Life episodes. I've seen the Metallica story documentary so many times, but you guys always surprise me with new tidbits of info. Always
Surprise!
Looking forward. Surprise! Always looking forward to the next episode. I haven't had a chance to check out the EP in depth yet, but I plan to soon, so I'm saving that episode for later. I also supported Ethan's Kickstarter. Awesome. Because I felt like I really wanted to give back for all the entertainment you provided me on top of the Patreon pledge, which Blair is also a Patreon.
Yeah.
He says, plus getting a new vinyl album is always a treat. We should say that part of Ethan's Kickstarter, you can pledge or you can give to it and you can get the vinyl. Which is cool.
There's a bunch of tiers of stuff on there. They're called rewards. There's everything from vinyl to CD to just a download, all the way up to like you could pledge to be a guest on my other podcast or Skype guitar or bass lessons, things like that. So again, go check it out.
It's cool. It's a really new creative way to keep music valuable, to exchange value for value.
Right.
So,
well, and a lot of people think like, oh, you're just taking people's money, blah, blah, blah. No, people obviously are willing to do this. And if you look at it like this, it's basically a way to pre-order my record. You're paying for it up front. That's all.
You're getting the record.
Yeah, I'm not gonna skip town with all this money. You know.
He says, I've never been too into reggae or ska, but I'm very intrigued by Ethan's take on it. Well, I'm not really that into it either, but I've heard the demos, and you're going to dig it, dude. He says, Clint, if you ever are looking to fund a new project, you know you have one for sure backer in me. That's really sweet, dude.
That's awesome. Make it two. Clint. I'm in.
We might do something similar to that to get the Lunar Satan thing like properly put out. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
He says, as I've mentioned in past emails, my brother, who passed away 17 years ago this May, introduced me to Metallica. This is always the hardest month of the year for me, and as the years pass, some of my memories of him fade, but because of the Metallica connection between us, this podcast holds a special place for me in reigniting my love for the band that he introduced me to, and in turn, keeping some memories alive. He says, the memories remain. See what I did there? He says, I can never thank you guys enough for all your work and dedication to this. It means more to me than I could explain. P.S. Did you guys see Kirk and Rob's cringeworthy rendition of Take On Me by Aha? If not, it's worth a watch.
Ooh, I haven't watched that yet.
It's it's admirable. Rob's really going for it, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, some of those doodles that are like city specific, a little nod to somebody from that town or whatever. It's
cool.
It's a cool idea, but sometimes it's just not well executed, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
But Blair, first of all, thank you for supporting my Kickstarter. And again, we're obviously, sorry that you don't have your brother with you anymore to share your love of Metallica, but man, we are more than honored that something little thing like this that we're doing can help you kind of keep those memories alive and keep thinking about them through this podcast and this band.
Yeah, I agree. And the older we're all getting older together, surprise, surprise.
Whoa.
And the more just the more shit's going down in your life, the more people you lose or the more disappointments you rack up. And this music sort of being a thread through all of that and being a safe place to go to.
Right, yeah.
This music's been helping me deal with what I considered now to be sort of silly problems when I was a kid to all the way through my adulthood and my fatherhood and my marriages and all this. So I very much resonate with that, Blair, and I'm obviously grateful that we can be a small part of that for you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We got one last email from Tanner Hendricks. He says, in Dave voice, hello, podcast.
Hello.
Hello. Oh,
hello. McFly. Hello.
Speaking of it's Cinco de Mayo, so hola, podcast.
Let's put another shrimp on the Barbie at the Cinco de Mayo.
All right, Tanner says, I started listening to your show about a month ago, and I just finished episode 25. You guys are awesome. I don't have any friends to talk to about Metallica, so the show has really sucked me in. You guys have helped me rediscover my favorite band. I've listened to every album except Saint Poo Poo, front to back a few times, and it's been amazing. My first CD was the Black Album, excuse me, and I have love for all nine of the 10 albums. Saint Anger was the first CD to come out after I was Fab.
I was a Fab?
Like fabulous.
I thought I was fabulous.
You listen, Tanner, don't let anyone tell you aren't fabulous, okay? You're fabulous. I liked it for a while, but I became more musically aware. I just listened to your episodes about the set list from the shows you went to. I saw them in 2008, and the opener for the encore was Die, Die, My Darling. Always cool. I love that cover, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the Garage Days episode. I hope Dave and Torben are still on still there on the show sometimes. Goodbye, everybody. Oh, goodbye, everybody. He wanted to do it in Torben's voice. Thanks, Tanner.
Thanks, Tanner. Very cool. He'll be reading this. He'll be hearing this episode in about 2.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And don't Torben is still here.
I've got to say, I out of protest, I do not call the song Die, Die, My Darling. I know that's what it's called. I get it. I just call it Die, My Darling. I'm not saying die twice every time I want to talk about the goddamn song, right?
Yeah.
It's actually two dies.
Do you like Die, Die, My Darling? Oh, you talking about Die, Die, My Darling? Yeah, Die, Die, My Darling. Do you like that song?
Yeah, Die,
oh, dude,
Die,
I love
Die,
Die, Die, My... I think the first time I heard Die, Die, My... It's like, dude, just... too many dies.
Yeah,
and you know what? On that grumpy note, let's get out of the emo corner.
Fine, I'm out of here.
Bye.
Hey, this is Ethan and Clint from Metal Up Your Podcast, and we want to talk to you about something we love called Patreon.
That's right. Patreon is a way for fans of the show to give back to the show, to donate money that helps us in quality and content. And not only that, but we've actually come up with all sorts of fun incentives to give back to you for supporting the show.
Exactly. For instance, if you donate $5 or more, you get access to Cover Our World Blackened, which is the official Metal Up Your Podcast Metallica cover EP.
That's right, and that's the only way to get it. In addition to the EP, we also give you priority email access, meaning we'll read your email first on the show. We give you early access to Patreon-exclusive merchandise, Patreon-exclusive giveaways, and any other side projects that Ethan and I might be involved in.
There's all sorts of things you can look at on there and you can donate to. Go check it out. Patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast. How do you spell that, Clint?
patreon.com/metalupyourpodcast. And if you really think about it, $5 a month for an entire year, that's really just like a cup of coffee a month. So go check it out. Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Adios. 1985.
1985.
And the year was 1985.
Now, the funny thing is, the first place we start when we're doing research for these kinds of episodes is we go to Metallica.com and we go to their timeline because it's such a great resource for that kind of thing.
It's amazing, yeah.
Now, when we went there today to check it out, there's only one thing on it, and it says, in September of 1985, Metallica began recording Master of Puppets. And that's literally all it said.
I know. It was when I went to it, I laughed out loud. I was just like, "This is hilarious. We could make this hilarious and literally just like get into this part of the episode and be like, all right, so yeah, they started recording puppets with Fleming Rasmussen at Sweet Silence, and all right, that's it, guys. Peace, adios."
Brown to brown to brown, brown. Now, so there's a lot of activity at the top of the year, but it's a tour. And I thought that, one of the cool things that Metallica has is you can kind of see a breakdown of every show they've done. And then there's kind of like a forum type place where people can comment. And a lot of people who actually went to these shows kind of wrote these little anecdotes that I actually thought were really interesting because they're a peek into the band kind of before they got famous.
Right, yeah.
So it's them doing it's them hanging out after shows or helping get fans in or just hanging out in bars around the venues. So it's very interesting Metallica lore for me, these early days.
I agree, yeah, for sure.
So we're going to kind of go through, it's an American tour. It's pretty much the whole country. They were working hard
for sure.
In the winter of 85. They were on tour with Wasp. They were opening for Wasp. And Armored Saint was also on the bill.
Nice.
I don't know much about Wasp or Armored Saint.
Armored Saint was the band that John Bush was in, who ended up singing for Anthrax.
Okay. Well, I don't know their music. Is what I mean.
I'm kind of in that same boat. What's funny is, we'll get to this later, but how much Metallica kind of made fun of bands with makeup and stuff. Wasp was makeuped out.
Yeah, well, I think there was some enmity on the tour. Like Blackie Lawless has said, that basically half the fans were theirs and half were Metallica's, and that their fans did not like each other. And he says it didn't matter what we were doing on stage. It looked like two opposing armies. Sometimes we, as a band, just stopped what we were doing and watched. It was a war.
It was a war.
That's a little intense.
It's a little intense, but back then it's like
I know it was so tribal.
If you were in a thrash metal, like real heavy metal, and then you have these other guys that are into like what's still called heavy metal, but it eventually became kind of glam rock. Wasp was still more heavy metal, but even then, though, it's like they kind of had the spandex going and some makeup on their face and this and that. So I'm imagining those Metallica fans in the crowd are just pissed. The Trues,
The Trues. That's totally right. They pretty much played the same set list. It's obviously Lightning and Kill 'Em All heavy. Opening with Fight Fire and To Ride the Lightning. Phantom Lord, Four Horsemen, Anesthesia, Bells. No Remorse, Call of Cthulhu, Seek and Destroy, Whiplash, Creeping Death. No Hit the Lights, which I found interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Which, that's fine. Maybe they were just tired of it by then.
Yeah, maybe so. They were playing that song hard for a couple of years, so maybe it was just like time for a break on that one.
Well, all right, so we're going to kind of just burn through a little bit of this tour. Now, I'm sure we have listeners who went to these shows. In fact, I have a little story about later in the tour.
Okay.
A good friend of mine was at one of these shows. So the first show they play in 1985 was actually on July 9th at Boston. In Boston.
January 9th.
At the Channel. What am I saying? Am I losing my mind?
You said July 9th.
Jesus Christ. Sorry. January 9th. They played at the Channel. Oh, they were supposed to play, but it got canceled. Now, what's interesting about this is that was the same venue that got canceled when their gear got stolen.
Yeah.
So they go back to play the show, and they had to cancel it again because Lars had some sort of issue with his passport and couldn't get there.
So at this point, I mean, I wonder, he wasn't even like, because he's Danish, obviously. So
Well, I think he may have gone back to Copenhagen. No, he was living in the States.
he was living in the States, but at that time, I mean, I don't know if he had like a green card.
Or it expired.
Or
something.
yeah, he had some sort of work visa for 2 years or something. Maybe it expired, and I don't know.
Well, because
We're
maybe
not
they
sure.
maybe they went back to Copenhagen for Christmas, and then when they were coming back, there was just problems with an expired passport or something.
Yeah. Maybe there was a Danish ban on travel.
On travel.
That was a joke. I'm sorry. remember the Muslim ban? The Muslim travel ban that Trump did.
A ban. I thought you said banned.
No, not banned. Sorry,
Okay.
let's rewind real quick. Hey, man, maybe they had a Danish ban. I know. Isn't that funny?
Holy shit, dude.
Man, I can't wait to start my comedy podcast.
Okay. They played another kind of handful of shows up in that area. On the 10th, they were in Scotia, New York, the 11th in Hartford, the 12th in Philly, the 13th in Baltimore. Now, the Baltimore show, they played at a venue called Coast to Coast. Now, these are all pretty small venues.
Right, yeah.
And it's basically a co-headline with Wasp, but Metallica's not playing last. And a fan says, I remember it was so loud in this little West Baltimore club, Lars's bass drums were like being punched in the chest.
Rad.
He says, this was the first of 2 times I saw them with Cliff. Armored Saint and Wasp were also great. A lot of the anecdotes, I mean, obviously, kind of center around how special it was to have seen Cliff live, especially at this point, like playing these really intimate, like sweaty, crowded rock clubs.
Well, I mean, and also, these people are obviously commenting on that forum section on Metallica.com about these shows, 30 plus years later. So it's probably really cool to write this stuff out, rethink about how you felt at that show, now knowing what you know about this band and all the records they've put out. And now it's probably even more special to look back and be like, wow, like I saw Metallica with Cliff Burton twice,
Yeah, so cool. And it's so weird to think about them not headlining it.
I know. It's so weird to think about any show they've not headlined.
For the next week after that Baltimore show, they did a bunch of Canada stuff. They did 2 nights in Montreal at a place called the Spectrum. They did Quebec City. They did Ottawa, Toronto. And now, Toronto's an interesting show, just looking at the notes, because they did an extended encore where after Creeping Death, they also did a solo Am I Evil and Motor Breath.
Very cool.
And this is before Wasp goes on.
Yeah.
And one of the fans says, this was my first time seeing Metallica. He's talking about this show in Toronto at the concert hall. He says, best metal show ever, and I've seen plenty. He says it was interesting that Blackley Lawless got pissed and walked off the stage because we were like zombies after Metallica left the stage. We were all like, what the fuck was that? Zombies, I tell you. So Metallica's just really bringing a lot of heat.
They're wearing it out. I mean, even if you fast forward, those clips of Ozzy talking about the Puppets tour or the Ozzy tour when they were touring Master of Puppets.
He said they were a hard band to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you watch old footage of them, even in the Kill 'Em All days, and it's like, fuck, man, I wouldn't want to go on after those guys.
Yeah, it's
I'll bet,
true.
all the guys on Wasp were so bummed on that tour, but they probably didn't want to give up that last slot, because
It
that'll
reminds
happen
me
on
of,
tours like that. They'll switch.
Oh yeah. Well, there's kind of a famous tour where REM was touring a record in '95 called Monster, which is a very misunderstood record. Are you hip to that? It was kind of their rock record.
Yeah, I remember that record.
But they were still REM. This is post-Automatic for the People, so they were huge. They took Radiohead out to support them while Radiohead was doing the Bends.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that tour?
Jeez, that's crazy.
Well, it says like halfway through the tour, they basically made it a co-headline because Radiohead was just basically taking off to the fucking stratosphere.
Right, exactly. I mean, from a business standpoint, you kind of have to do that. It's like, hey, this band's blowing up, the band that's direct support for us. They're no longer getting 35, 40 minutes. They're getting the same length set as we are, and it's now a code headliner. It's smart for business, and ticket sales and stuff.
But even I just like the lack of ego there too, because one of Radiohead's biggest influences was REM, and Michael Stipe, being such a cool dude, recognized how important they were as a band, and was like, you know what? Let's just make this let's just be peers instead of like, Because a lot of times when you're bringing people out, they're obviously not on the same level you are, and you're either bringing them out because you like them, you're a fan, or it's through some sort of management. They're another band on your label or whatever.
Something, yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so I'm not sure Blackie Lawless was that cool. He probably didn't like it.
I'm sure he did. I mean that quote, he says he got pissed and walked off the stage.
Which then, like, what's the recourse for that?
You know what? You guys look like zombies. You know what? I'm freaking out of here. I'm gonna pull an Axl Rose and get out of here, even though Guns N' Roses hasn't started yet.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. That's just like a diva move to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's lame.
Like, hey, you know what? First of all, they're zombies because Metallica just fucking ripped their fucking faces off.
You could say their dicks. Were you going to say rip their dicks off? You could say
no.
that.
I was trying to think of more of a zombie reference, like their hearts out or something, because they still have, you have to kill the brain for the zombie to stop and this and that. Anyways,
I'm looking up this Blackie Lawless character right now.
Have you not seen a picture of this guy?
Well, I don't often look at old men wearing leather outfits with razor blades on their forearms. Oh, I'm seeing current pictures of him now. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Is Wasp good?
I mean, they're good. They're good at what they do.
What's their biggest song?
I don't remember. That's how much I listen to Wasp.
I admire this dude's dedication to leather.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, he's clearly has been living that life for a long time.
You saying that just made me think of that song from Rockstar. Living the life I was born to live.
I love that movie.
Dude, I love the whole soundtrack.
Stand up and shout.
Let the river run through my calloused hands. The big ballad that he does.
Totally.
Shit, that's a great movie, man.
It's an awesome movie.
Now, after this show that we're talking of in Toronto, they played on January 20th at the Salty Dog in Buffalo. Now, I don't know how many of you out there are fans of the Larry Sanders Show. It's my favorite show of all time. Huge Gary Shandling fan. And his producer, Artie, his big drink is he drinks what he calls a Salty Dog.
Ah, okay.
Which I believe is just straight tequila with salt on the rim.
And a hot dog in it. A hollowed out hot dog to suck it through.
Oh my God. Yeah, we use kind of an unconventional straw. It's just a hollowed out hot dog.
Yeah. Oh, so that's why you call it a salty dog. I get it.
Heavy on the salt.
Yeah.
So the night of that Salty Dog show, now some fans said this. Apparently there was a blizzard that night. One fan says, freezing cold weather. I met Randy Piper at the bar. It was a great show. The band got stranded at the bus terminal, and it was worth it. So some of these people commenting, I'm not sure how far they made it through grammar education, but it's hard. It's hard to get through some of these. Another fan says there was a blizzard that night. Got stuck at a friend's house for a couple of days. Days is spelled D-A-Z-E.
Oh.
He said Lars threw a glass of water at the end of the set, and I got soaked. I was freezing while eating Mighty Taco next door to the Salty Dog. Fucking worth it.
Yeah. The Mighty Taco.
These Dear Diaries are kind of priceless, dude.
I know.
One more from the show.
Can you start this next one, Dear Diary?
Dear Diary. Got stranded at the Buzz and Bee. They kicked us out. So we went to Mighty Taco, where they ended up kicking everyone out into the blizzard. My mom had a friend of a friend who took 5 hardcore thrashers into their home for 3 days. They fed us and made up beds for us. Only in Buffalo will people do that. Worth every moment. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead and say, though, I'm sure there are at least 2 other cities where someone will do that for you.
No, I don't know, dude.
It's not just in Buffalo.
Well, and like I've hung out in Buffalo a lot in my career, and I love the people of Buffalo.
Oh, it's a great city.
But they don't strike me as immediately like, where you can really get stranded and have to sleep on strangers' doorsteps, and they'll feed you, make up beds. Buffalo,
right?
I
do love that. I do love that some of these quotes. Some of the names of the venues and stuff sound like that Instagram account Riggs of Dad, where he makes up fake venues and
I
artists.
love it. Yeah,
like the Buzz.
You guys need to go check out Riggs of Dad if you don't know what that
Riggs
is.
of Dad, like the Salty Dog, the Buzz and Bee.
Yeah, totally. The Mighty Taco.
Mighty Taco.
On On the 22nd, they're in Scranton, 23rd in Poughkeepsie, and now on the 25th, 26th, and 27th, they played at Lemoore, a very famous rock club where Michael Alago saw the band for the first time.
Yeah.
So my friend and our drummer for the Rodney Atkins band is a guy named Kevin Rapillo, and he's a Boston cat, and he was in kind of an up and coming hard rock band called Kid Crash. They got signed and made a record. Nothing ever really happened, but he was kind of around. He was kind of hanging out with Alago. He was kind of involved in hard rock scenes. He sort of casually the other day is like, I was talking about Lemoore, this club. He's like, dude, I saw Metallica at Lemoore in like 1985. He said it real casually. I was like,
Wow.
wait a minute.
Hang on a second.
Like, you know me. You know I co-host an all Metallica podcast. You know I have pictures of Metallica covering every inch of my goddamn bunk. You're telling me you saw the band play in 1985 with Cliff Burton? And he's like, oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, of course I did.
He's like Armored Saint, Wasp, or whatever. You know, he knew the show.
Yeah.
So it's just weird that someone that I spend so much time with was at one of these 3 shows.
I know, and then finally told you.
And it was just so cash.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, I saw that show. No big deal.
They always killed it there. So I'm sure those 3 nights were sold out, packed, and a lot of fun.
For sure, yeah.
I think Alago, doesn't he talk about Lemoore in his documentary?
Yeah, he talks about it a bunch. That's the one that he at one point he was booking, right?
Is that Lemoore?
Was that? I got to watch that documentary again.
We got to go listen to our episode with Michael Alago again.
Yeah, exactly.
On the 28th, they were in Columbus, Ohio at Newport Music Hall. The 29th, they played in Cincinnati. A fan anecdote from the Cincinnati show says, got backstage and lied to some cat about going to school with James and Cliff backed me up. Wow. So that's cool.
That's so Cliff.
So the dude's like, oh, I went to high school with Cliff, and probably security guy's like, hey, this guy says he went to high school with you. And Cliff, not knowing this guy, was like, yeah, man, let him in. That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
I can't say I would do that.
I can say I would not do that.
Like, I would do that to help someone get into a show. I wouldn't do it to help someone get backstage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole different.
Yeah,
can
that's a
of
little
worms.
tough, man. I mean, and I've from personal experience. I mean, some of the bands I've been over the years where we've had, quote unquote crazy fans a little bit. I've definitely seen stuff like somebody telling the security guard some BS. Oh, I'm Ethan's cousin, or blah blah blah. And then I walk out there. I'm like, no, never seen them in my life.
Well, and we live in a post Dimebag situation. Dimebag Darrell was killed in a club by a crazy fan. Yeah. Obviously, that's not a very common thing, but I feel like the whole zeitgeist changed after that in terms of safety. It's no longer this sort of anything goes, all for one thing. So you can be a bit more careful, and
of course,
all that stuff. On the 30th, they played Indianapolis. So they're kind of doing some Midwest stuff. They do Detroit, Cleveland, Kalamazoo, Madison. And then, all these clubs, I've played every current rock club in the country, but this was all obviously in 1985. A lot of these aren't there anymore.
Yeah, some are still there for sure.
But on the 6th of February, they played at a club I have played, and one of my favorites in the country. They played at First Avenue in Minneapolis.
That is the famous Purple Rain Club.
Yep.
If you've seen the movie Purple Rain with Prince, the live performance there, that's the club.
But First Ave is just like a rite of passage for rock bands.
Absolutely.
And it's still an active, vibrant club, as far as I know today.
Yeah, so is the Newport in Columbus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Newport's still around. Yeah, cool. I've played there a bunch.
A fan anecdote from this show in Minneapolis says, after the show, the Metallica guys walked around the bar area being sociable. I got to say hi to every one of them and tell them what a kick-ass show they did. I'll never forget it. So, they're just like walking around, hanging out.
Well, but this is, like we said, this is before they got super famous, obviously. So this is still a point where they probably had someone selling their merch for them. And they're probably like, after the show, hey, all right, dudes, let's go out to the merch booth by the bar, have some drinks, and hang out with fans, because that's how you sell more merch and be engaged with your audience and this and that. So they're probably definitely still in that area of their life.
Well, I tried to look this up. Maybe someone out there will know, but I don't even think they were in a bus yet.
Yeah, maybe just a van and trailer or something.
Yeah. So when you don't have a bus, you don't really have anywhere to go. You're hanging out at the venue,
right?
Or you're hanging out at the bar by the venue because you don't have anywhere else to go.
Well,
the last thing you want to do is get in the goddamn van again.
There was that one anecdote from Buffalo where someone had said they got stuck at the bus station or whatever. So were they taking like Greyhounds to every city or something?
Yeah, I don't know if he was talking about him as a fan got stuck at the terminal or the band. I don't know. it was kind of a typo city situation. I couldn't really.
Thankfully, everyone made it to the Mighty Taco, though.
Until they kicked them out into the blizzard.
Yeah, but then they got the Buzz&Bee right next door, too.
See, we were already wrapped up in this psychodrama of post-show shenanigans.
Yes.
It's as if we were goddamn there, even.
We were.
Now, on the 8th of Milwaukee, this is a special show. They played at Eagles Ballroom, and it's the live debut of Fade to Black.
Ooh, so cool.
Which I wonder what the audience respond. I wonder if they were nervous to play it.
I'd imagine they're like, okay, this could go south until the bridge, until the da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Like, if we survive, the first two verses will be okay. Well, I don't know. Those choruses are heavy.
Well, but like, I mean, at this point, I mean, the fans they have know the song. I mean, that record had already been out for a while.
Yeah, but you got half Wasp fans who may have not heard the record.
Right.
And they're winning over Wasp fans. Dude, they're coming out playing Fight Fire with Fire and Ride the Lightning back to back. They're ripping your fucking throat out.
Oh, yeah.
But then they play Fade to Black, and Wasp fans are like, we don't like it.
We don't like it. It's too slow.
It's slow, and it's clean, and it smell bad.
I liked Metallica back when James wore the leopard glove.
Can we get a leopard glove back here and a bullet belt? Dad? Dad, all I want for Christmas this year is a porcupine wrist cuff and a bullet belt.
And maybe my stocking stuffer could be a set of fingerless gloves with the leopard print.
And I want a sickle and I want a bloody hammer in my stocking, Dad.
And an electric chair.
I want an electric chair floating in the sky in space.
It has to have lightning hitting it, though. It has to, Dad.
And here we are, getting us plugged right back into Back to the Future.
Oh.
Save the clock tower. At precisely 12 p.m., lightning will strike the clock tower. Or whatever.
I'll take a milkshake. Chocolate.
Pepsi free.
You want a Pepsi, pal? You got to pay for it.
It's not free. Okay.
You gonna order something, kid? Sorry, we're done.
God.
We're done.
All right. They played Chicago, Green Bay, Cedar Rapids, Burlington. On February 15th, they played in St. Louis at Reflections. A fan from that show says, front row in front of Cliff, and the quote-unquote barricade was just a bunch of cocktail tables turned over on their sides.
Wow, they said still have the tea.
So the production budget was clearly stellar for that show.
I've definitely played venues in my lifetime where a barricade is something like that.
Oh,
like
sure.
Just tables turned over. I love that whoever said this quote still has the T-shirt from the show.
Wow.
That's
Send us a
cool.
picture of it. I'm sure they're listening right now.
Yeah, they're totally listening to our show right now.
Oh my God, Ethan! Speaking of that,
What?
Do you remember when I did? So I went to the St. Louis show on the North American Arena or Stadium tour last year
Yeah.
with Brad Blazek. He gave me a snake pit. We were front rail of the snake pit.
So cool.
And I told a story about a Venezuelan dude next to us who air drummed the whole time, and he was like talking shit about Lars.
Yeah.
And that dude is a massive fan. I've seen him in many other official Metallica videos on the front rail. I don't know how he does it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
So the other day on Instagram, this guy writes in, he's like, hey, just discovered the show, huge fan. Just listened to like 40 episodes in 2 weeks. Like, love it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, thank you so much. Really glad you're on the ride. You know, it's always cool to say hi to people. And then like maybe a day later, he was like, oh my God, I just finished the St. Louis show and you talked about a Venezuelan dude next to you. He's like, that was me.
That's awesome.
I'm like, wait a minute. Were you like air drumming the whole time and shit? And he was like, yep, that was me.
No way. That's
I'm
awesome.
like, that had to have been a really weird trip for him to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. He's like, by the way, I'm Brazilian. You asshole.
By the way, I'm not totally
And I was air basing.
not drumming. No, he knows all the drum moves.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I've actually seen clips of him. I think if it's who you're talking about, dude, air drumming. Keep it going, man. Air drumming's fun,
Dude, air drum it away, dude.
Hey, man, no judgment here.
No life till air drumming.
That's right.
We're gonna kick some drums tonight in the air. All right, then they play Kansas City, Wichita, Kansas, and then, of course, we've talked about it, our beloved Cane's Ballroom in Tulsa. I'm wearing a Cane's Ballroom t-shirt right now.
Are you? That's awesome.
A fan from that show says, first time I'd ever heard Metallica at this gig, even met James, Lars, and Cliff hanging around during Armored Saint's set. Went to this gig to see Wasp, but came away a lifelong diehard Metallica fan. Take that, guy from Wasp. What's his name again?
Blackie Lawless.
Take that, Blackie Logless.
Lawless. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's not his real last name.
I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's not his first name.
I'm going to take a wild guess and say that he probably had a fingerless leopard glove.
I'm looking at these pictures, and he has these wrist cuffs that are like razor blades. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's to get through. That's to try to fend off all the Metallica fans coming after him.
Leave me alone. I'm going to razor you. I'll cut you again.
I'll cut a fool.
He's got a bitchin' mic stand. It's like this big scully spine thing.
That's cool.
Kind of like the H.R. Geiger, Jonathan Davis bullcrap. I'm Jonathan Davis, and I don't like my dad.
That's a pretty good Jonathan Davis.
It is really, truly amazing that I'm not a professional impersonator.
How do you and I not have full-time careers doing voiceover work or for cartoons and stuff?
Oh, wait, did Jonathan Davis just come in the room? Hi, I'm Jonathan Davis, and this is a new song I wrote about my dad. It's called Got the Life. Something takes a part of me, okay? Anyway, it's me, Jonathan Davis from Korn.
You kind of sound like a South Park character.
Okay, where are we at on this?
No, it was 1985 somewhere.
Are we? Should we? Okay, good God, we're almost done with this. Then they played more shows. At some point, Wasp popped off the tour. I don't know why, but when they get down to Texas, which is February 26th through March 9th, they start to make their way out west. They go through Texas, Albuquerque, Colorado Springs, Denver, San Diego, and it's just them and Armored Saint, and they're headlining. So
awesome.
There's that. They did do 3 shows in San Antonio that were apparently a pretty large time. One fan says, after the set, before the encore, some chick jumped on stage and dove into the crowd with James's mic and stand. I don't think they ever got it back. At the show in San Diego, a fan says the venue was the size of a large shoebox. Watched Cliff Burton do Anesthesia from 5 feet in front of me. One of the best concerts of my life. Armored Saint was fucking awesome as well.
Gosh, again,
I need to get an Armored Saint record. I need to check it out.
I have checked them out over the years, especially back when he started singing for Anthrax. But I never really dove deep. But I'm kind of ashamed to admit that here on the air.
I know John Bush kicked ass at that 30th anniversary show. He did the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
In fact,
so rad.
Let's hear a little bit of that. Let's dip in on that. All right, the boys continue playing shows. At a show in Phoenix on March 11th, a fan says, I was there and directly right in front of Cliff. He says, I recall getting whipped in the face a few times by his hair while he was headbanging.
Wow.
How about that for a story?
Yes, no joke. I mean, that's straight up like...
I got some of Cliff Burton's hair in my mouth, and I didn't wash it out for 17 years.
Yeah, it's still in there. Every time I go to the dentist, I say, skip that tooth.
They played in Palo Alto, a couple nights in San Francisco at the Kabuki Theater, Seattle, Vancouver, and then finally, thank God, the tour ends March 19th in Portland at Starry Night. They did an encore. They encored the song The Money Will Roll Right In. They did it with Armored Saint.
Cool.
I'm sure that was fun. Money Will Roll Right In is by a band called Fang. For those of you who don't know.
Fang.
They've only played it twice.
Yeah.
Both in 1985.
This next bit, so they clearly take like a pretty long break after this. Probably to go write fucking puppets in that garage.
They were probably doing a lot of writing, yeah.
But this is where it gets really exciting for me. Some of these cool festivals they start playing.
Right, totally. I mean, yeah, the end of 1985 is pretty exciting because to me it seems like the beginning of 85. They're just sort of finishing touring Lightning, kind of getting that whole cycle complete. And then they obviously take off time to rest and be home and be normal people and obviously write Master of Puppets. But on August 17th, they play a huge show for them, Monsters of Rock at Castle Donington in the UK. Other acts were ZZ Top, Marillion, Bon Jovi, Rat, Magnum, and Tommy Vance.
Thomas Vance.
Hi, I'm Thomas Vance. Here's how you spread Grey Poupon on ciabatta bread.
Just ask my friend Magnum.
Me, Magnum, and Marillion will be showing you how to display your salad fork next to your main entree fork on stage.
Oh, jeez.
So they have a tight little short set list, kind of a barn burner set list: Creep, Ride, Bells, Four Horsemen, Fade, Seek, Whiplash, Am I Evil, and Motor Breath. I wanted to insert a clip of Creeping Death. These are boys in their early days top form, young, hungry, excited. Let's check it out.
Let's do it. Yeah, dude. I mean, at this point, they're, with a song like that, I mean, they're pretty seasoned with this song already. They've been playing it like every night for a couple of years. So they're just,
they've had some time off. I mean, let's see, April, May, June, July. I mean, they've been off for 3 months.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff.
But you're right. I mean, you're right. They had it honed in.
But you play, how it is. You play that stuff enough over X amount of years, and it's just like, it's just like clockwork. You get up there, and muscle memory kicks in, and it was probably extra exciting because they're playing their first show after a long break, after writing Puppets. Excited to get in the studio, and they get to play this giant show. So they're just up there annihilating in it.
And was this is the show where James wrote "Kill Bon Jovi" on his guitar? Is that right?
I think so. Kill Bon Jovi.
It's pretty brutal. I mean.
Yeah, no joke.
Get it. You don't like Bon Jovi, but
because Metallica fans would have been like, okay.
Yeah, totally. We've just been waiting for you to give us the go-ahead on that. Yeah. We will kill Bon Jovi. Now, a really fun thing happened a few days later, August 24th, at Ruthie's Inn in Berkeley, which was a club like the Spastic Children would play at and stuff.
Right,
I think that was just like a really fun place for them to hang out. They played an unannounced show under the moniker The Four Horsemen. They couldn't get their equipment there. It was just this very loose, crazy thing where Metallica's basically, they just played Monsters of Rock. The tales of them from all their local buds are that they're just skyrocketing. And then all of a sudden they're playing this pickup show for all their friends at Ruthie's Inn.
Yeah.
That, that's a time machine. Like if you could have a time machine and go back and see any show, that would be in the top 10 list.
That'd be so amazing to see that. Incredible.
They covered London Dungeon by the Misfits at that show.
Rad.
Is that a song you're familiar with?
Yeah. Dude, I can't back the Misfits enough. They were pretty sloppy back in the day, but man, Glenn Danzig wrote some catchy ass songs.
August 31st, and they were kind of saying that was like maybe a warm up show for what would happen on the 31st, which was another massive show, the Day on the Green in Oakland, where they were third on the bill. Scorpions, Rat, Metallica, Y&T, Yngwie Malmsteen, and a band no one knows anymore called Victory.
Who's Y&T? I've seen that name here and there, but
I think they're a popular rock band in the 80s. I don't know anything. Let me look it up. Y&T.
I can tell you right now, like looking at this lineup, like I probably wouldn't have been stoked to see anybody until Metallica started. Because I mean, I thought actually for a glam-ish band, I thought Rat had some cool songs.
Yeah, I like Rat.
Round and Round? Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Y&T is an American hard rock heavy metal band formed in 1974. In California. The band released 2 studio albums. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? God. There's just too much information here.
Yeah.
Summertime Girls remains the band's most widely recognized song, along with fan favorites such as Mean Streak, Contagious, Rescue Me, and Forever. Music videos for songs such as Summertime Girls, Lipstick and Leather, Don't Stop Runnin' are still featured videos on VH1 Classic.
Lipstick and Leather.
Jesus, no thank you.
All right, so that's that's probably like the clip you heard at the top of the show of James talking about if you're here to see spandex and makeup and hairspray. I'm guessing pretty much all these bands but Metallica had all those things.
Yes.
Although the Scorpions never really did like makeup and stuff. They've been around long enough.
And Metallica are big Scorpions fans.
Yeah, but Rat, YNT, Yngwie had some Aquanet on hand that day.
I know. I mean, Yngwie is one of the best guitar players to roam the earth, but what a total douchebag.
Yeah, I've heard a few firsthand encounters with him from friends at this rehearsal space in Florida, and they did not have one good thing to say about him. And at the time, I think he was still driving like a really nice like mid '80s like Corvette. It was like yellow or something.
What's his fascination with yellow?
I don't know. No idea.
Part of me kind of likes his sort of bravado-y, arrogant egomaniac.
Sure,
stuff,
I think it's all part of the act.
Yeah, rock and roll just needs that, but it's also not that cool either.
Yeah, I think it's just humorous. His whole everything about Yngwie just makes me laugh. Even you watch him being serious and ripping and stuff, it's just all silliness to me.
They tell the stories about this day on the green and you can see it and like it's all in the Back to the Front book, which we did a whole episode on that book, Back to the Front. With our friend Tom Quee from Alpha Metallica. That's a fun episode. Go check it out. But in that book, they show pictures, and you can actually even watch Day on the Green. It's on YouTube. But people are just throwing all types of garbage and water bottles and beer cans, and the stage looks like a landfill.
Yeah.
And at one point, someone threw a pear, and it like got stuck on Cliff's bass. And he took it off, and he just takes a few bites of it and threw it back in the crowd.
That's awesome.
But it just looks like a fucking war zone, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's also like there was that era. It was a lot in punk rock music where like if you got spit on, it was actually like a compliment.
Yeah.
Or maybe back then they thought like, yeah, throw your bottle on stage. Like we're with you. Have my beer. I don't know, but
have my beer can filled with my urine.
I would do anything for you, James Hetfield. I would pee in an aluminum can and throw it at you. I love you that much, man.
That's how much I love battery.
Exactly. Take my urine battery acid.
Now, another thing that happened at that Day on the Green is apparently old Jimmy James Headset Jr. trashed the shit out of their dressing room and got into big trouble with this big promoter, this guy named Bill Graham. And, like had to go apologize and shit. And
I wonder if he did one of his live grunts before, like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, then a normal, I'm sorry. I apologize for the damage I caused in the dressing room.
Sorry, bro. We cool?
A few days later, they're on the goddamn plane to go to Sweet Silence again in Copenhagen to start making Master of Puppets. Now, I found this interesting. Cliff didn't show up to the airport. Just didn't show up.
Missed his flight.
Just didn't go. He didn't show up to the studio until the start of the second week.
That's crazy. I wonder if it was a thing where like his flight, he didn't show up. They canceled the flight. Had to rebook him a new one or something, and it was already like, well, we don't have anything available until next week. Okay,
well, the way it's talked about, like in Mick Wall's book and stuff, is just like it was kind of a like, oh, that's so Cliff,
yeah,
and he'll figure it. He'll get there when he gets there. And Cliff's just like, yeah, man, we don't usually do bass until the second week anyway, so I'm not going to go up there and just sit around Copenhagen.
I mean, I'd imagine the first week back then would be mostly, James and Lars and the producer Fleming just sitting down and kind of going through parts and listening to tapes and pre-production.
A couple of things that did happen during the summer, during their quote-unquote off time, is both Lars and Kirk took lessons.
This is when, was Kirk doing lessons with Satriani?
Yes.
It's
kind of right around the time when Joe was starting to make his own records. Before then, he was just kind of like a badass Bay Area guitar guru who was teaching Steve Vai and Kirk Hammett, all sorts of great players.
Yeah.
What
did they go on to do?
How about Lars continuing, though, to like dig in and get drum lessons? Fleming has said that when they showed up to do Master of Puppets, that the boys were a lot better than they were at Lightning because they had all the touring under their belt.
Yeah.
Two of the dudes had invested in themselves and gotten lessons.
Right.
I think that's a really cool thing.
It's very cool. I mean, it just shows someone like Fleming Rasmussen that these guys are beyond committed, ready to prepare, ready to come into that studio like all guns blazing to make what would become the best record of their career.
Yeah, for sure. And and like the budget was higher, so they weren't having to sleep like on the floor in the loft of the studio. They actually had hotel rooms. It was James and Lars shared a room, and Kirk and Cliff shared a room. And I love Kirk's insights into what it was like, kind of living that intimately with Cliff, saying, they were young metalheads and they were going out and getting hammered, and they'd come back to the room and Cliff would just want to keep playing guitar.
Yeah.
And he always had an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar. He loved Lynyrd Skynyrd, loved Ed King, this guitar player. That's an interesting window into Cliff. Just always sort of exploring music.
Yeah, for sure.
And not just bass, like playing guitars and being interested in harmony and composition and shit.
I mean, we've said it before, but I think, which is why if he was still around, I think something like the Black Album might have been even more experimental.
Yeah, people like to do the whole what if of like, Cliff would have hated it. It's like, I don't think so, dude.
No, I fully disagree. I think they could have. Who knows if even Justice would have been what it was?
Right. Oh, good point.
Cliff might have wanted, hey, maybe they would have started doing more Black Album-esque stuff after Puppets. We'll never know, obviously, but yeah, I can't ever, say that. Oh, Cliff they still would have been a thrash band if he never died. But
I totally agree, and I still maintain that Harvester of Sorrow could have been on the Black Album, and that The Struggle Within, Holier Than Thou, and Through the Never could have been on Justice.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see there's not the massive difference. I think that it's just easy to categorize it in all these like ways where it's like, oh, this fits here and this fits here for this narrative, and they sold out here. It's like, it's the same dudes playing the goddamn songs. It's the same front man singing and writing the lyrics.
Yeah.
They're not that different.
Exactly. If there were two thrashy songs on the Black Album, I think people would perceive that record completely different.
You mean two more?
No, I'm talking like thrashy, like fast, like a battery speed,
Yeah. Well,
With the super fast punk rock kind of beats. If there were there's two of those on there, then I think, it'd be a whole different story on that record.
Yeah. It's interesting to look back and kind of like prism it through all these different, because we know a lot more now, and we know what they would go on to do. I could see your average person who heard the Black Album for the first time maybe felt the way I did when I heard Saint Anger, like, oh, is this the new thing that they're going to do forever now?
Yeah, totally.
And then, of course, the people who didn't like the Black Album, it would get worse before it got better for them, because they're boohooing about Holier Than Thou, and they hear the house that Jack built, and they're like, oh, we did not know.
They hear Mama Said. Like,
totally. We did not know how bad it was going to get for us.
Now you want Enter Sandman, don't you?
Yeah, butthole.
Yeah, you're dumb.
Another thing that happened around this time that kind of like plays a big part in what the sonic landscape of Puppets is like is they just got this Mesa Boogie endorsement. They switched over from Marshalls to Boogies, and I know that they were still using the Marshalls, and James kind of had this thing where he was piggybacking the preamp from the Marshall into a Boogie, right? That's like a big thing he was doing.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely a tighter, less mid-range, crunchier sounding record on the guitars than Lightning.
Yep, it totally is. I mean, you're right. I mean, getting these Mesa Boogie amps is kind of what helped shape the sound of that record. Now, I'm sure that there was a Marshall or two in the studio and they were blending sounds and stuff like that, but I mean, that kind of changed them. I mean, everything after that, they started using Boogies live and all this stuff.
Are you familiar with a website called Gear Sluts?
Yes. It's Sluts with a Z,
Eason.
Right? Yes, I'm here.
Yes, and it's just a nerdy website for like music stuff. It's gearslutswithaz.com. Well, Fleming has gone on Gear Sluts and basically posted pictures of all the session notes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Puppets. And he, you can see because back then you would actually write on a sheet of paper, like you would draw the knobs on an amp and you would write where they were. Yeah. So that you could match tone if you had to overdub or something. And I'm trying to find it now, but it's just such an amazing.
Well, it'll say what amp it is, what microphone's being put on it.
Right, it's like very detailed.
Yeah, what EQ it's going through, compression, this and that. It's awesome. I mean, it's very cool of him to go on that website and post stuff to answer people's questions.
It's worth, if you just Google Fleming Rasmussen Gear Sluts, it'll come up, and it's extremely detailed, and it's a very long thread.
Yeah,
I'm looking right now. So there's 9 pages of it, and it's just people saying, Fleming, thank you so much. Like, what did James do for blah blah blah? And it's Fleming just answering it.
That's so cool. What a good guy, that Fleming.
Let's see. Like, for example, a question is, do you remember if the cabs were loaded with STD speakers, vintage 30s, or greenbacks? Talking about the guitar cabinets. He says, what guitars did James use on the record? Gibson Explorer, ESP? And this is Fleming writing back. Hi, Alberto. Pretty sure they were all recorded with Gibson Explorer. As far as I remember, I never used a Flying V for rhythm guitars. For solos, yes, but for rhythm, always the Explorer or a Les Paul. He says, and as most of the cabs used for the recording ride were on loan, I have no idea what kind of speakers were in there. We didn't care about speakers in cabs. If they sounded good, we used them. If not, we got different speakers. So he's just giving you those kind of like candid answers.
But it's cool though, because that's at the end of the day in the studio, that's the truth. Like, you could have the most badass amp in the world, like a Dumble or something that's worth $8 million,
right?
With these handcrafted speakers, and you plug it in, you're like, hey, that's cool, but that's not the sound we need.
Right, totally.
You know, that's how it works in the studio. You get the sound you want, and if that means it's out of a shitty little amp, then that's what you go with.
Someone says, what kind of mic did you use to record the 12 and 15 inch cabs for bass? He says, hey, we used Neumann U87s, that's like a holy grail microphone.
Yeah.
And we used AKG 414s as ambience on some tracks. The cabs were stacked and had a mic on each, so 2 cabs, 1 mic each, close approximately 2 to 4 inches from the cone, plus an ambient mic 2 to 3 meters off to one side. Like,
wow.
It's these kinds of details, which if you're interested in that shit, it's just like a treasure trove.
It's really fun to read through for sure. And Fleming, I mean, that's so, kind and gracious of him to go take the time to go on there, post all that stuff, answer questions. He's all right in my book.
He's a good one. Okay, we have a whole episode on the Puppets and
Fleming.
And Fleming, and we've got a future episode on the Puppets remastered box set stuff. So we don't have to camp out in Puppets land too much. Needless to say, they recorded it. History was made. On September 14th, they went and played the Metal Hammer Festival. Other acts were Venom, Nazareth, Wishbone Ash, Warlock, Heavy Pettin'.
Heavy Pettin', not
Pretty
with an ing.
Pretty Maids, Running Wild, Restless, Savage Grace, and Tyron Pace.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the only other band I would like to see on that bill would be Venom. Maybe Heavy Pettin'.
Oh, I wouldn't mind seeing Nazareth.
Now you're messing with a son of a now you're
Did Nazareth,
messing...
was it them that ended up in the 80s getting really soft and doing and I can't fight this feeling anymore? Was that them or was that who was
I'm
that?
looking it up, homie.
It was a band that was better before that. I don't know that.
They're a Scottish hard rock band formed in 1968 with several hits in the UK. Their 1975 Hair of the Dog, which is that Now You're Messing with the Son of a Bitch song. Oh, they did Love Hurts.
Love Hurts, that's right. Yeah, that one was Love Hurts.
Love Strong.
Something else. I don't know.
Something else. That's pretty good. The cool thing about this Metal Hammer show, which I believe you can watch this entire show on YouTube also, but one of the coolest things about it, which we will now play for you, is it's their live debut of Disposable Heroes.
Yes.
Are we fucking nuts tonight? I said, are we fucking nuts tonight? Fucking crazy fuckers. Do you want to hear a new song? Alright, this is a new one from the album Master of Puppets, to be out around Christmas time. This one's entitled Disposable Heroes.
Because this is in the middle of the recording process. They didn't send it to mix until January of '86 with our friend Michael Wagner, which you guys should also check that episode out. Whole episode on Michael Wagner, dude. Who,
By the way,
mastered
Can't Fight This Feeling was REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, come on, dude.
God, are you not an REO? I'm trying to think of a funny fan club name.
The REO Speedwagoner.
REO Speed Michael Wagner.
I just love watching James's right hand during Disposable Heroes.
I know. That would have been so exciting to debut this song. I mean, they spent all these months working on it. And they're finally getting it.
That's a monster to play live, too.
Oh, yeah. So good. Cliff's little...
I know. Super fun.
Oh, yeah.
December 29th, they play at Sacramento, at the Memorial Auditorium with Y&T and Armored Saint. And then, this is interesting, New Year's Eve, they play a pretty raucous gig, hometown gigs for them, San Francisco at the Civic Center, with Exodus, Metal Church, and none other than, hello, Megadeth.
I think this is the first show they actually played together since he got kicked out.
Yeah, it's an odd bill, I think.
Very odd. I would imagine that fucking tensions were high at that show because Dave is fresh off of. I mean, to him, it's still new. Today, it's still new.
Yeah, that's Dave in every intervening year since then.
But I mean, 2 years later, and they're playing a show together, and Megadeth is just starting, and I think at this point they might have had Killing's My Business out, but great lineup, and also of course you have Kirk's old band on the bill too, which is Exodus.
Yep. So that's kind of it's. If you look at it with rose-colored glasses, it's like, oh, it's kind of this big family night because Metal Church is John Marshall's band, their guitar tech.
Yeah.
So but I doubt it was that. I doubt it was like a big fucking episode of Full House up in that bitch. I'm sure there was some
probably
drama.
Not. Or I can imagine the dudes were like, oh, we're playing with Dave. Like, let's try to be nice. Or maybe they just ignored each other all night.
I think, from what I can tell, the Metallica dudes have always been cool. And then when they re-released that, or not re-released, when we started to see all this new footage from the Puppets era, there's that thing where they're taking phone calls at the radio station,
right? Yeah,
and you hear a guy asking about Megadeth, and Lars is like, "Oh, we just saw him in New York. He's doing press for his new record, and it's really good." And we didn't really get to spend a lot of time with him, but we did get to say hello. And I think what he's doing is really great. He's being fucking cool, dude.
Yeah, they've always complimented Dave, and even if you watch the Megadeth Behind the Music, James and Lars are in it, and they're talking about, I think it's about Rust in Peace, maybe, about what a great record it was, and there's always been nothing but good vibes coming from the Metallica boys towards Dave.
Well, have you seen that behind the scenes of the Big Four, where Lars is telling Dave that his son is a huge Megadeth fan?
Yeah, totally.
That's all pretty interesting stuff. There's so much drama there, dude.
I know. Still, he still brings it up.
I will say this December 31st show of '85 is also in my top 10 of time machine shows to go see.
Yeah.
Because, hometown, New Year's Eve, everyone's fucking crazy.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Oh my God. That's good.
Oh, man. Marty, you have to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future. Back to 1985, December 31st at the Civic Center. This involves Jennifer. Bring her too.
This is heavy, Doc.
There's that word again. Heavy. Is there something wrong with the Earth's gravitational pull in 19... And this is also 1985 in the movie. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Finally make that connection.
Oh my God.
Who's president in 1985?
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? The way I see it, if you're going to build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Oh, that doesn't get old. It does make my throat hurt, though.
Yeah, I know. That's why we could never do a whole... Oh, guess what was on the bus yesterday? Coming to America.
Yes.
Now, you know him as Joe the Policeman from the Who's Looking Out episode of That's My Mama.
That sounds so good.
Randy Watson.
Thank you very much.
That boy good. All right, what can we say? We did 1985. Our schedules are getting crazy, as we mentioned earlier. We might just ride out this year in the life shit for the next month or so.
Yeah.
But we've got good stuff coming up. We're going to be doing Lulu soon. We're going to be doing the Puppets box set, the Lightning box set. We've got some more live DVDs to do. We're going to be revisiting other records. When the shows start happening this year, we're going to be doing tailgate episodes.
Hey, speaking of Master of Puppets, I don't think we talked about this one last little fact, which was the live debut of Master of Puppets. The song.
At the New Year's show.
Yeah, at the New Year's show.
Well, why don't we say goodbye to the people and send them out with that? We're about to play for you the live debut of Master of Puppets. We appreciate everyone who's on the ride with us, all you new Patreons out there, everyone who sends us an email and lets us know how the show helps them. We love you guys. We're excited. We're as excited as ever to be Metallica fans. I know you all are too. Go check out Patreon. Go check out the iTunes reviews. We got a great website. Come hang out with us on Instagram. We're having a good time over there. Anything else going on, Ethan?
No, I'll be leaving for tour the day this episode drops with that reggae band Morgan Heritage. So go to their website, search for their tour dates, and see if I'm going to be in a city near you, and maybe we can grab a beer and hang out and hold hands or something.
And buy an almanac.
All right, let's get out of here.
All right.
Peace.
Adios.
advice, or what would you say? Then I would say delete that.